He saw her for only a second. Two cars approached each other on Goodenow Road in rural Will County, Illinois, fields on either side and a narrow strip of asphalt between. In one car, a father heading home. In the other, a red Dodge Daytona with 28-year-old former Deputy Robin Renea Abrams behind the wheel. As their bumpers drew even, both lifted a hand. A quick wave between parent and child on an otherwise empty road. He kept going, assuming he would see her that evening. She kept going, heading away from Beecher and the safety of her parents' home. That fleeting exchange on October 4th, 1990, was the last confirmed time anyone ever saw Robin alive. Within hours, her car would be found in another town without her. Within days, her family would learn that their daughter had vanished in the middle of a very public fight with people who wore the same uniform she once had. Robin grew up in Beecher, a small Will County community. Family and friends described her as independent and determined, proud of earning a place in law enforcement. In the late 1980s, she began dating Anthony Tony Marquez, an older auxiliary deputy with the sheriff's office. She later said he was jealous and controlling, and that arguments sometimes escalated into threats and damage to her car. In 1988, he urged her to apply for a full-time job with the department. She was hired as a deputy, but after their breakup, she reported that he harassed her, slashed her tires, damaged her vehicle, and she filed complaints inside the agency, turning a personal split into a workplace dispute. By 1990, Robin had been fired from the sheriff's office and was facing criminal charges she insisted were retaliatory. She did not quietly move on. She filed a federal civil rights lawsuit accusing the sheriff, Marquez, and several other deputies of sexual harassment, wrongful termination, and of using phony criminal complaints to humiliate her and destroy her career. For a 28-year-old former deputy, it was a bold step that put her in open conflict with powerful people in Will County. That fall, the case was moving forward. Robin had a key date ahead, an October 22nd deposition where she was expected to testify under oath about what she said had been happening inside the department and in her relationship with Marquez. 18 days before that testimony, she drove away from her parents' home. She never reached the courthouse. On October 4th, 1990, she left the house in her red 1989 Dodge Daytona hatchback. Around 4 in the afternoon, on Goodenow Road near Beecher, she and her father passed each other, waved, and continued in opposite directions. It was the kind of everyday moment that happens constantly in small towns. Only later would he replay it, searching his memory for any hint that something was wrong. According to every public account, there was none. She appeared calm, simply out driving. When Robin did not come home that night, the family's concern grew quickly. She lived with her parents. She was in the middle of a major lawsuit, and she was not known for disappearing. The next solid development came from Harvey, about a half-hour away. Roughly 11 hours after her father last saw her, police there found her red Dodge Daytona. The car was locked. The keys were still in the ignition. Her camera was inside. There was no sign of Robin. It did not look like a car abandoned in panic at the side of the road. It looked like a car that had been placed there. A witness later reported seeing 2 men in a tow truck dropping off the Daytona around 10 p.m. that night. If accurate, that meant someone had transported Robin's car to Harvey after she disappeared, parked it, locked it, and walked away. Days later, her purse was found a few blocks from the car, reportedly missing her credit cards. The trail went no farther. After that wave on Goodenow Road, there has never been a confirmed sighting of Robin Abrams. Because Robin had worked for the Will County Sheriff's Office, and because her lawsuit named sitting officials as defendants, the investigation into her disappearance immediately raised questions about conflict of interest. The sheriff's office handled the case at first, then turned it over to the Illinois State Police. Eventually, the FBI joined the investigation. For her family, the growing list of agencies underscored how serious the case had become. It is unusual for a healthy adult to vanish, leave a car staged in another town, and draw state and federal attention unless foul play is strongly suspected. As detectives examined her life, the same names surfaced again and again. In public records and coverage, Anthony Tony Marquez and his relative John Romo emerged as central figures. Robin's relatives have said for years that they believe Marquez orchestrated her disappearance and that Romo helped him. Marquez had been named in her lawsuit. Their turbulent relationship was documented. Reports of harassment and damage to her property were part of the history between them. At the same time, investigators have never announced enough evidence to file charges against anyone. The case remains officially unsolved. In the months after she vanished, Robin's federal lawsuit stalled and then collapsed. Without the plaintiff available to answer questions, the case could not move forward. It was dismissed in January 1991. On paper, the civil action that had once promised sworn testimony about harassment and retaliation ended with no resolution. For her family, that dismissal felt like a second loss layered on top of the first. In the years that followed, each October brought another anniversary with no answers. Robin's parents grew older without knowing what happened to their daughter. Her sister, Jody, stayed in contact with detectives and the media to keep Robin's name in the public eye as coverage returned to the same core story: a young deputy who challenged her own department, then vanished 18 days before she was due to testify. By 2021, Will County marked the 31st anniversary of Robin's disappearance. Articles again laid out the basic facts: the wave on Goodenow Road, the car in Harvey, the purse found nearby, the pending lawsuit, the men her family considered suspects, and the lack of arrests. That same year, news outlets reported that Tony Marquez had died at age 78, closing off any possibility that he might someday sit down with investigators and tell them what, if anything, he knew about that night. What remains now are a few hard facts and many unanswered questions. On October 4, 1990, Robin Abrams drove away from her parents' home in Beecher. She passed her father on Goodenow Road and waved. Sometime after that, she vanished. Her car was found in Harvey, locked, keys in the ignition, camera inside. A witness saw a tow truck dropping it off. Her purse turned up nearby. Her lawsuit was dismissed when she failed to appear. Her body has never been found, and no one has been charged. On paper, she is still a missing person. For her family, she is a daughter whose case never reached a courtroom. Someone knows what happened between that wave on a quiet country road and the moment her car rolled off a tow truck in another town. Someone knows why a promising young deputy never came home. Until that person comes forward, the disappearance of Robin Renea Abrams will remain an open wound in Will County, and a story her family has to keep telling year after year so she is not forgotten. Thank you for listening to The Lantern's Tale. Subscribe for more true stories, if you dare.